Picture this. A creepy cellar in a tiny English village, 1993. Four regular folks sit in total darkness, not chasing ghosts for thrills, but hunting for proof of life after death. What they got wasn't just spooky, it was mind-blowing. Dancing lights, voices from nowhere, objects popping out of thin air, and photos showing faces of the long dead. This is the Scole Experiment, a 5-year saga that left scientists scratching their heads, skeptics yelling fake, and the internet buzzing with wild theories even in 2025. Was it a glimpse into another dimension, or the slickest hoax ever pulled? Grab a seat because this story's gonna keep you up at night. In the quiet village of Scole, England, Robin and Sandra Foy, along with Alan and Diana Bennett, kicked off something wild. They called themselves the Scole Experimental Group, and they weren't your average Ghostbusters. No Ouija boards, no tarot cards, no hocus pocus. Just a plain wooden table in a stone-walled cellar under a 17th-century farmhouse called Street Farmhouse. The setup was hardcore. No windows, no light pollution, no outside noise. They worked in pitch-black darkness, believing spirits needed total isolation to show up. Everyone wore glowing wristbands so you could see their hands weren't pulling any fast ones. This wasn't about seances for fun, they were dead serious about getting evidence scientists couldn't laugh off. Robin, a paranormal investigator for years, kept detailed logs of everything. Time, temperature, even air pressure. They weren't messing around, they wanted to map the afterlife like it was a science project. But what they stumbled into was way stranger than they ever imagined. For weeks they sat in that chilly, dark cellar talking, sometimes singing, trying to raise the vibrations. It was boring as heck, hours of nothing but creaking floorboards and their own voices. They started to wonder if they were wasting their time. Then one night everything changed. The air got heavy like a storm was brewing. Static electricity zapped their skin, making their hair stand on end. The temperature crashed 8 degrees in 5 seconds, colder than the stone walls should have allowed. And then a voice sliced through the silence. It wasn't a whisper or a moan, it was clear, deliberate, and called itself Manu. This wasn't some lost ghost crying for help. Manu claimed to be an entity from another dimension, leading a group called the Team of Many Minds, dead scientists, philosophers, and technicians who'd crossed over decades or centuries ago. Their mission: blow our minds with proof of an afterlife using 3 types of evidence: physical objects, photographs, and audio recordings. Manu wasn't here to haunt, he had a plan, and the Scole Group was his ticket. This was just the start, and the cellar was about to light up. Soon, tiny lights flickered in the darkness, like fireflies lost in the void. At first they were faint, barely noticeable. Then they grew brighter, bolder, moving with purpose. These weren't random sparks. They danced, formed patterns, even spelled out words when the group asked questions. One night, a light zipped across the table, brushed Sandra's cheek, and vanished. Another time, they formed a triangle when Robin thought the word in his head. The group was floored. These lights were intelligent, responding to their thoughts like they were alive. But that was just the warm-up. Objects started appearing on the table out of nowhere. Ancient coins, small crystals with weird markings, even a brass locket that materialized with a soft clink. When they pried the locket open under a microscope, 3 words were etched inside with precision no human tool could match: bridging 2 worlds. Each object came with a purpose, a message, like the spirits were dropping breadcrumbs to something huge. The group started calling these apports, and they kept coming, sometimes mid-sentence, sometimes with a faint hum in the air. These weren't just trinkets, they were clues to a bigger puzzle. But the spirits were cooking up something even wilder. Manu's team told the group to bring sealed packs of Polaroid film and keep them locked tight. They wanted to deliver photographic proof of the afterlife, and they weren't kidding around. In total darkness, the Scole Group placed an empty Polaroid camera on the table. Seconds later, it started to move, levitating a few feet off the table, surrounded by flashes of light like a mini lightning storm. It floated back down, steady as a rock. They loaded the sealed film, snapped a picture, and watched it develop in real time. The first image showed a man's face, stern and unfamiliar. A message came with it: "Yeppy Rolls sends his regards." The group had no clue who that was, but a researcher later dug into it. Yeppy Rolls was a film pioneer who worked for Polaroid and passed away in 1926, decades before the experiment. His only known portrait, locked in Polaroid's private archives, matched the photo exactly. Other images were even crazier: Victorian street scenes in crisp detail, ancient scripts no one could translate, even glimpses of what looked like lost civilizations. Experts who studied the photos were baffled. The images formed inside the film's chemical emulsion, not from light hitting it. No double exposures, no camera tricks, nothing they could pin down. One photo showed a woman in old-fashioned clothes, her eyes staring right at the camera. The group swore she wasn't in the room, but the image felt alive. How do you explain a photo that shouldn't exist? And then the spirits decided to crank it up a notch. In that dead quiet cellar, the group set up a simple tape recorder, hoping to catch something, anything. What they got was unreal. Voices started coming through, some in modern English, others in languages so old or strange no one could place them. One spoke in what sounded like Latin, another in a tongue linguists later called unknown on Earth. The voices didn't just babble, they discussed heavy stuff, philosophy, quantum physics, even the nature of consciousness. They claimed consciousness isn't just brain sparks, it's the fabric of reality itself. Death, they said, isn't an end, it's a shift to another state like changing channels. They warned of a coming crossing point, a global shift in frequency that'd wake up new human abilities, telepathy, remote viewing, direct access to universal knowledge. But it wouldn't be easy. Political chaos, climate collapse, and social unrest were coming, they said, unless humanity got its act together. They urged meditation, living in harmony with nature, and even sent blueprints for a device to talk to spirits. A modified crystal radio using germanium, a rare metal, to capture voices without a microphone. The group was stunned. These weren't just spirits, they were dropping science lessons from beyond. They weren't just chatting, they were predicting our future. But could anyone actually verify this madness? That's when the big guns rolled in. The Society for Psychical Research, or SPR, Britain's oldest and most respected paranormal investigators. We're talking Nobel Prize winners, Cambridge professors, and professional skeptics who'd spent decades debunking fake mediums. 3 of their best took on Scole: Professor Arthur Ellison, an electrical engineer who didn't buy paranormal fluff; Montague Keen, a media expert and career skeptic; and Professor David Fontana, a psychologist who'd sniffed out frauds for years. These guys weren't here to clap for ghosts. They brought their own gear, sealed the cellar doors with tamper-proof tape, and searched everyone top to bottom for hidden gadgets. They even marked their own film packs with invisible UV ink to catch any swaps. The first session was a bust, 40 minutes of nothing, and the SPR team was ready to call it a scam. Just as they started smirking, the room turned ice cold. Those familiar lights sparked to life, but this time they didn't just dance, they responded to the scientists' thoughts. Keen thought in German, "Make a triangle," and the lights formed one instantly. Ellison thought, "Zigzag," and they complied without a word spoken. A crystal appeared on the table. Ellison grabbed it, felt its cold, solid weight. He asked to take it for testing, but when he left the cellar, it was gone, replaced by a brass plate engraved with Arthur Ellison. He'd never shared his first name with the group. Then voices kicked in, calling the scientists by name, spilling private details about their lives, like Keen's dead uncle's nickname, known only to family. They answered complex engineering questions with technical precision, stuff no one in the room could have faked. The SPR team recorded everything, and the evidence was piling up fast. Even the biggest skeptics were stumped. But not everyone's buying it, especially with new rumors swirling. Here's where the story gets murky. The Scole Group's obsession with total darkness? Perfect for spirits, sure, but also a magician's playground. Those glowing wristbands showed where hands were, not what they were doing, plenty of room for sleight of hand. And there's a bombshell. Alan and Diana Bennett admitted years later that they'd been stage magicians before Scole. They swore their spirit work was legit, but skeptics pounced. Magicians know how to fake lights with tiny LEDs, hide objects in secret pockets, or pipe voices through hidden speakers. The Polaroid photos? Pre-exposed film could explain it, and no independent lab ever checked if the film was switched. The group banned video recording, claiming electronics messed with spirit energy, a convenient excuse that killed the best way to document things. When infrared cameras were finally allowed, the weird stuff mostly fizzled out. Then there's the spirits' predictions. That big crossing point and global consciousness shift? Never happened, at least not like they said. And the plot thickens with recent chatter. In 2024, an anonymous post on a paranormal forum claimed a leaked diary from Sandra Foy surfaced, hinting that some reports, like those old coins, came from antique shops, not the spirit world. The diary's unverified, and some call it a smear, but it's got ex-users and Reddit threads buzzing. Another wild theory from a 2023 podcast, Paranormal Uncovered, suggests Scole was tied to CIA consciousness experiments, like the Gateway Process or even MKUltra, because of the spirit's frequency shift talk. There's no proof, but it's a juicy idea that's got traction online. And in 2025, some ex-posts claim Scole's phenomena mirror new quantum entanglement studies, hinting the group accidentally tapped into another dimension. Was this the greatest hoax ever or a real breakthrough? Here's what it all might mean. The Scole Experiment ran from 1993 to 1998, logging over 500 seances and producing a 300-page SPR report that admitted something unexplainable went down. The spirits claimed they built a bridge between dimensions, and after the experiment ended, weird stuff started popping up globally. People reported lights in their homes, objects appearing, voices in empty rooms. A 2006 Bath University survey found 70% of respondents had experienced paranormal events, some crediting Scole's energy field. The group's impact lingered. Books like the Scole Report, documentaries and seminars kept the story alive. But skeptics have a solid case. 4 people, including 2 ex-magicians, had 5 years to perfect a trick in the dark. Money from lectures and books didn't hurt either, though it wasn't millions. Professional magicians have shown how it could have been done. LEDs for lights, hidden magnets for moving objects, pre-exposed film for photos, tiny speakers for voices. No high-tech gear needed, just patience and planning. Yet the SPR investigators, no pushovers, found no fraud. Montague Keene believed in Scole until his death in 2004, collapsing during a debate defending it. Ellison and Fontana were cautious but admitted they witnessed things science couldn't explain. The Spirit's final message in 1997 said they were stepping back, leaving the door open for humanity to evolve. They warned our collective thoughts shape the future. Fear closes the mind, love opens it. So what's the truth? Did Scole crack open a door to another dimension, or just prove how far belief can stretch? One clue might be what happened after. If the spirits built a network, we'd expect more proof everywhere. Instead, the phenomena stopped when the group split. Their excuse? The interdimensional doorway attracted experimenters from the future, messing with space-time laws, so the spirits shut it down. Sounds like a sci-fi cop-out, right? Yet those 2025 quantum theories keep the mystery alive. Maybe Scole stumbled onto something we're only now starting to grasp. What do you think? Hoax, breakthrough, or something in between? Drop your thoughts below, and let's keep unraveling this mind-bending puzzle.